All right, this is just a short update that I'm carrying out because I haven't done a video for a while, you might have noticed, and there's a reason for that. I've had a bad cold since last Tuesday, and so I haven't been filling up to it. I tried to record a song based on our dear leader, Malcolm Turnbull, our Prime Minister of Australia, who's a man that I have great admiration for. And if you detect a slight tinge of sarcasm there, you're spot on. It was going to be quite vitriolic, but I never got round to doing it. So, look, I'll just give you a bit of a recap of what's happened over the last week. It's been a fairly quiet week, quiet in metaphorical sense and literal sense. And the literal one's really good in that the neighbours have been reasonably tranquil upstairs. They make a little bit of noise, but nothing out of the ordinary. The usual sliding of furniture occasionally, but nothing untoward, nothing particularly over the top, nothing that I'd ever report about as being too noisy to the estate agent. So they've cleaned up their act. So it's taken quite a few occasions where I've had to whinge to the agent about their behaviour. And I must admit, at that stage, I was wondering whether the body corporate gave a damn, because they're sitting on their hands when it comes to getting the security gate fixed on this place. Mind you, the people in control of that in Queensland could be taking their time too, because it took forever for me to get that stove finally fixed, which is just a matter of a couple of knobs. It's really frustrating. I had no stove for 2 months simply because they couldn't find the replacement knobs in a reasonable time. That was it. And there's nothing wrong with the oven, as it turned out. It's working really well. I actually I had a real win the other day. I actually bought something I would never do, which is buy a pizza from Coles, like one of the Coles branded pizzas. It had to be cooked, heated up. Well, I think cooked actually. I think it actually did require proper cooking. It was actually raw. It was a capricosa. And I had very low expectations about how this was going to turn out. But I thought, what the hell? Pizzas up here are very expensive compared to Melbourne. So look, rather than just buying a base and having to put the thing together myself, I decided to actually buy the capricosa, which was on special. It was only $5 for God's sake. So I mean, that is so cheap. I'm virtually giving it away. To my surprise and delight, I've got to say it tasted halfway decent. Not up to scratch, not up to what you'd expect from a freshly cooked pizza from a proper pizza oven, but it wasn't far off. It was certainly close enough to be of acceptable quality, only downside was maybe the crust could be a little crispier. But I've looked that up on YouTube, and there is some advice on how to do that too, even with a normal oven. Apparently, pizza ovens are. This guy did the YouTube video. I don't know if this is true, but he said they're 800 degrees, as opposed to a domestic oven, which is closer to about 200 or 180 if it's fan force. That's what was recommended for the pizza to have. So quite a lot cooler. But after 10-15 minutes in the oven, it actually came out all right. I was absolutely staggered. I also had about a third of it left for the following day and had that cold, and that was also acceptable. So, gee, for $5, I'd be paying 3 times as much for it if I went to a pizza place locally. And because I was feeling so crappy, I didn't want to have to go out and get food. I didn't even go to the Thai lady down the back, who I know makes excellent food. I was contemplating getting some Thai takeaway, but decided not to. I'm hoping I'm finally at the end of this stint. I haven't been to the pub for a week. It was last Monday. This is that Monday. Yeah, so it's Monday the 8th, and it was the 1st of August that I last appeared at the pub. And I don't even know if I'll be up for it today. It's quite a nice day, and the last time I got on my bike, that was on the Tuesday, and then after that I just felt like crap. I went and had I took a journey of about an hour. Wasn't intending on doing that, but once I got on the bike and rode, about half a k, I started to get the feeling for it again, and it just gets addictive. So I rode a lot further than I'd expected. And what was interesting is that when I came back on the return journey, because I went down to the Esplanade and I went past the ferry terminal, which I hadn't seen before, and then I went down a road that went past the law courts. And as I'm walking past, there's these really dolled up women in black and peroxide blondes, and a couple of guys walking past me. So I got them on camera because I actually filmed the whole bike ride. And when I checked out the footage about a day or so ago, I discovered that the guy put his hand up to try to disguise himself. He might have thought I was some sort of a paparazzi or news guy that was doing it, was employed by a station. So who knows? But apparently Pauline Hanson was up here the other day just defending her son, who was on some sort of some domestic dispute about a restraining order apparently, and she had to be front up to the court. So I might have actually got Pauline in the frame if I'd ridden the bike a few days later. So we've had quite a few big politicians up here as well in Cairns. I don't know what the great attraction is. I guess it's obviously a more marginal seat than where I'm used to. Melbourne is very much the Greens domain. It's a fight between Greens and Labor, and so I don't feel like I have much input into that at all. So I'm more than happy to be up here where it's a little more interesting because one nation could make a real go of it, especially in the state elections. It could be quite interesting to see how much action does take place up here. I think this could be quite one of those crucial type of seats, but time will tell regarding that. In the same time frame, she might implode like it appears Donald Trump seems to have in last week. He's really gone the cropper. But I wasn't really here to talk about all of that. I mean, the main thing was that the circumstances have changed here, where my neighbour has become like a normal neighbour. It's quiet at night, much better than it ever was in Melbourne, I've got to say. Quality of life here is so much better for me. It is noisy during the day though, mainly because there's some building taking place a block behind me. Glenn mentioned it to me when with his short stay here, and he said they were probably doing foundation work. He said the noise is only going to get worse as they work their way up through the frame, and I think what he said has come true. So it's not looking particularly good that way as far as noise is concerned. But Cairns is a noisy place. It's I call it a bit of a tradie town. It's not like the same mix as in big cities as Melbourne and Sydney, where you've got a lot more professionals as a percentage of the population. Here, I think a lot of it's made up of government employees, especially being the hospital would be a huge employer, so they'd be government based, I think, to a large extent, and a lot of tradesmen of varying qualifications. That seems to be the mix. It's a bit different. It's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. It's actually quite good. Another little observation I'll make might be a little controversial, but this is just my honest observation. You very rarely see any of the Aboriginals here in a customer service role. You just don't see them actually doing any, I'm not saying they might be doing manual labour. I haven't seen that, but that's not to say they're not doing it. But the only interaction I've had with them was on two occasions. One was there's a woman working behind the desk at Australia Post. She was Aboriginal, and they're going to. That will probably be an affirmative action policy that they run at the post office, being sort of government controlled. The other one actually is totally private enterprise, and that was Coles. So that was unusual. I think she was a trainee, and I haven't seen her since. So I'm hoping that she didn't do anything wrong as far as I could see. She was fine. I had no problem with her work. But it is just seems very strange that so few of the Aboriginal community are actually doing customer service roles. And I haven't seen any guys doing it. It's just been a couple of women who are probably under 30 years of age. So maybe that's good for the future. Maybe it's saying that there might be a change there. Not that, you know, it's the be all and end all to work at Coles, but, you know, at least it's a job, I guess. And, you know, jobs don't come easy up here, I wouldn't have thought. So that was a little observation I made, apart from the fact that, you know, I got someone at the law courts with my bike ride. Yeah, the bike was actually in for repair, and I was up. They increased the labour rate from $15 to 25, so that was quite a hike. Also, they discovered that they needed to put a new cable in, which is $16, so I was up for $41 in total. And the guy that I dropped the bike off with, which is the previous Thursday, so it was in the shop all weekend. He was very pessimistic about me getting the gears working again. He said they had to be totally replaced, and I said, well, I'm not going to pay for that. So it looks as though I'm going to be riding a bike without gears, which is not a problem. You know, it's not meant for any long distance journeys. I'm just wondering whether I've done the right thing with the bike. You know, the initial cost of it wasn't bad. I got a 20% discount on it, so I think it ended up being about $54 for the frame, the wheels, and what have you, without the chain, which had to be added. But the work on top of that would be the majority of it, and I would estimate that I'm at least spent $150 in total on it, if you include. I've had it in for a couple of jobs already. This is the third occasion, so it's starting to mount up a bit. And Kmart are selling Chinese-made bikes for a song, a little over $100. Now, whether I don't know whether they're actually adult size. They may be kids' bikes. And secondly, who knows how long they'll last, because they are incredibly cheap. So I don't know whether I've done the right thing with this bike, but I'm sort of committed to it now, and I'm just going to do basic maintenance from it from now on. You know, I had to get the rear brakes fixed. That was essential, and that's all I'll do on it from now on, is just essential stuff. I won't bother with gearing. It's just going to be too expensive to put a whole new set of gears on. Just not worth the effort. I don't need them anyway. I can get around here. It's quite flat, and I don't want to have to do hard riding. You know, that's not the point of it. Is to do some exercise. If I'm out on that bike for an hour, I'm doing sufficient amount of exercise to do me good. I'm sure of it. Much better than in Melbourne. So it's perfect for the location. It's perfect for what I want to do. If I get more serious about bikes, maybe I'll just buy a separate bike, and that might be a smarter move rather than trying to build one up from getting the cash converter option that I used, and having to get a lot of repairs done, because labour's not cheap in Australia. So that's basically where I am. I think I'm getting over this cold, thank God. It's been very depressing, so I apologise for not having any updates for a while, but this is a fairly bland, static one, but I might eventually get round to that vitriolic political one, because I'd love to hoe into our politicians. Not a big fan, to be honest. I think our country has incredible potential, but we are being held back by very mediocre leadership on many levels, not just government, but they're an easy target, and one that I'm quite happy to have a go at. And that includes opposition as well. Politicians in general, they're a pretty sorry bunch generally, I think, in this country. But anyway, that's my little wrap, and hopefully I'll come up with something a little more visually interesting next time.